You tell yourself it is just coffee, just a few dollars. You are standing in line at the counter, phone in hand, and the number on the screen feels so small it barely registers. $3.75. Maybe $4.50 with a tip. You tap your card, pocket your receipt without looking at it, and walk out into the morning feeling like you made a reasonable, even responsible choice. After all, you worked hard. You deserve a small comfort, but here's what nobody tells you in that moment. You will do this again tomorrow, and the day after that, and 47 more times before the month is over. And somewhere across town, the version of you who tracked every single one of those small purchases is sitting with an extra $180 still in their account. That version of you did not deprive themselves of joy. They just stopped pretending that small purchases were invisible. This is the story of how you finally stop letting those small purchases control your life. Not by becoming someone who never treats themselves, not by turning into a person who counts every grain of rice and judges themselves for wanting things, but by becoming someone who finally sees the full picture, someone who understands that the quiet, invisible drain of spending leaks is the single most underestimated force standing between you and actual financial freedom. Let us start at the beginning, not the dramatic beginning where you lost a job or faced a medical bill or had some crisis that forced you to look at your finances. The real beginning, the boring Tuesday afternoon beginning that almost everyone ignores. You are at the grocery store, you came in for bread, olive oil, and pasta. You leave with those things and also a magazine by the checkout, a bar of chocolate that was on sale, a bottle of sparkling water because you were thirsty, and a scented candle that caught your eye near the entrance. You spent $22 more than you planned, and you think nothing of it. You call it a good trip. 2 days later, you're online. You add something to your cart and notice free shipping kicks in at $35. Your cart is at $27. So you browse around, find a hair product you have been meaning to try, and bring the total to $38. You saved on shipping, it felt smart. The weekend comes and your friends want to grab brunch. You budget $20 in your head. The mimosas look good, you split a dessert. The bill comes and your share is $41 before the tip. You pay it because it would feel strange to say anything. Monday morning, you subscribe to a streaming service that had a free trial you forgot to cancel. That is $15.99 per month now. And there is another one, the one you signed up for during the pandemic that you still use sometimes, and the app subscription and the cloud storage upgrade. None of these things felt like decisions. That is the point. That is exactly why small purchases are so dangerous. They do not feel like choices. They feel like the cost of being alive in the modern world. They feel inevitable. And because they feel inevitable, you never question them. You never line them all up in a row and look at what they are doing together. Here's what happens when you finally do. You sit down on a Sunday evening with your bank statement and a cup of tea, and you start going line by line. Not to punish yourself, not to feel shame, just to see. And what you find is not one big problem. It is dozens of small ones, each one perfectly reasonable on its own, each one defensible if someone asked you about it. There is the coffee, obviously. There is the lunch you bought 3 times last week because you did not feel like packing one. There is the parking fee you paid because you left 5 minutes late and the farther free lot felt too inconvenient. There is the late fee on a bill you forgot because you were busy. There are the 2 items you bought online and returned, but the refund has not come back yet. There is the convenience fee at the ATM because your bank is across town. There is the extra guacamole, the premium upgrade, the add-on that seemed like only $2 more. You sit there and you add it all up, and you feel something shift inside your chest. Not panic, not guilt, something quieter and more unsettling than either of those. Recognition. Because looking at these numbers, you realize this is not about any single purchase. This is about a pattern so deeply embedded in your daily life that you had mistaken it for just the way things are. Spending leaks are not dramatic. That is why they survive so long without being noticed. A spending leak is any regular, small, low-friction outflow of money that happens almost automatically, without real decision-making and without meaningful contribution to your quality of life. The key phrase there is without meaningful contribution to your quality of life, because that is how you separate a spending leak from something that is genuinely worth it. Think about the coffee again. For some people, that morning ritual is one of the most important 15 minutes of their day. It is where they think clearly. It is a moment of peace before the chaos begins. For those people, the coffee is not a leak. It is an intentional investment in their own well-being. But for many people, and you have to be honest with yourself here, The coffee is just a habit. It is automatic. It is something you do because you have always done it, and stopping would feel weird. That is a spending leak. The difference is not the price. The difference is whether you chose it with your full attention or whether it just happened to you again. You start going through your life with this question. Did I choose this, or did it just happen? And what you find surprises you. So much of what leaves your wallet every week is in that second category. It just happened. The convenience store snack on the way home because you were tired and the drive-thru was right there. The premium version of the app because the pop-up came at the right moment. The extra items in the cart to hit a free shipping threshold. The subscription that renewed quietly at 2 in the morning while you slept. Financial experts who study household spending in the United States have consistently found that the average American significantly underestimates how much they spend on discretionary small purchases. Not by a little, by a lot. People tend to think they spend around $100 to $150 a month on what they consider unnecessary small things. The actual number, when tracked carefully, is often 2 to 3 times higher. This is not because people are irresponsible. It is because the modern retail and subscription economy is designed with extraordinary precision to minimize friction, reduce hesitation, and make spending feel painless and forgettable. One-click purchasing saved card numbers, auto-renew defaults, endless scroll loyalty rewards that make you feel like you are winning when you spend. These are not accidents. They are the result of billions of dollars of investment into making sure that small purchases never feel like real decisions. So here's what you do. You decide to take your money back. Not dramatically, not by going cold turkey and making yourself miserable, but systematically the way you would address any other slow drain in your life. You start with visibility. You print your last 30 days of transactions or pull them up on screen and you categorize every single line. Food at home, food outside the home, subscriptions, convenience purchases, things you planned. Things you did not plan, you're not grading yourself, you're just mapping the territory. And when you see the map for the first time, you understand why you have always felt like money just disappears. It does not disappear, it leaks. Slowly, constantly, through dozens of tiny holes that each seem too small to bother patching. Then you pick the most obvious leaks first. Not all of them. Just the ones that stand out immediately as low value. You look at your subscriptions and you do the math. Not monthly math, annual math. That $15 streaming service you use maybe once a month costs you $180 a year. That gym membership you joined in January and used 12 times through March costs you over $30 per visit when you work it out. That app subscription for the tool you used twice costs you $84 a year. You cancel 3 things in 20 minutes and you feel a small, specific kind of power you have not felt in a while. It is the power of paying attention. You do not stop there. You look at your food spending, because for most Americans, this is where the largest and most consistent spending leaks live. You spend more eating out than you realized. Not at nice restaurants on special occasions. At counters, at drive-thrus, at the fast casual place near your office where lunch costs $12 before the drink, you start packing lunch 3 days a week. Not every day, because perfection is the enemy of progress and you know yourself well enough to know that an all or nothing rule will last about 11 days before it collapses. 3 days a week. That is it. You do the math. If lunch out averages $12 and you do it 5 days a week, that is $60 per week, $240 per month. Switching 3 of those to a packed lunch at roughly $2 to $3 per meal saves you roughly $45 per week, about $180 per month. You made that change in one decision that took 4 minutes. Here's something important. You're not doing this to suffer, you're doing this because you finally understand the actual stakes. Let us talk about what those stakes look like in real numbers. Imagine you identify $250 per month in spending leaks, not by depriving yourself of things that matter, just by removing low-value automatic outflows and replacing a few high-cost habits with lower-cost alternatives that feel just as good. $250 per month is $3,000 per year. Over 10 years, if you invested that consistently in a broad market index fund through a retirement account, the potential growth is significant. You are not getting rich overnight. Nobody should promise you that, and nobody honest will. But the math of compound growth over time is well documented, and it works in your favor when you stay consistent. The point is not the exact number. The point is that the money was always there. It was already yours. You were just spending it on things that left no memory, no lasting value, and no return. You keep going. You look at convenience spending, which is different from planned spending and different from treating yourself. Convenience spending is what happens when friction wins, when you pay the $3 ATM fee because walking 2 more blocks feels like too much. When you order delivery and pay $7 in fees and tip because cooking feels overwhelming tonight. When you buy the thing at the airport because you did not bring one from home. When you renew the parking spot for an extra 15 minutes because you're not quite ready to go. None of these things are moral failures, but together they represent a choice you are making constantly without really making it. You are choosing to pay a premium for avoiding small amounts of effort, and that is fine sometimes, completely fine. But when it is automatic, when you're paying that premium every single day without thinking about it, you are not making a choice. You are just hemorrhaging money in slow motion, so you start creating tiny barriers. Nothing dramatic. You move the delivery apps off your home screen, so ordering requires a few extra taps. You put a small amount of cash in your wallet each week for those small discretionary moments, and when the cash is gone, you wait until next week. You set a calendar reminder to review subscriptions on the first of every month. You keep a snack in your bag so the convenience store stop after work becomes less automatic. These are not deprivation strategies, they are attention strategies. You are not removing pleasure from your life, you are inserting a half second of consciousness between the impulse and the action. And that half second turns out to be worth thousands of dollars a year. Something else happens as you do all of this, something you did not expect. You start enjoying the things you do spend money on more than you did before. The coffee you buy now actually feels like a treat because you are not buying it every day automatically. The dinner out with your friends actually feels special because it is not competing with 17 other thoughtless spending moments from the same week. You spend less and you feel more. That is not a paradox. That is what happens when spending becomes intentional instead of automatic. You also start to understand your own emotional spending patterns more clearly. You notice that you tend to buy small things online late at night when you're tired or stressed. You notice that you spend more on food when you skip lunch, so now you actually eat lunch. You notice that you make unplanned purchases at certain stores almost every time you walk in, so now you use pickup or delivery for those places instead of browsing. You are not suppressing your emotions. You are learning to read them without immediately reaching for your wallet as a response. This is what real financial growth looks like. Not a windfall, not a viral investment. Not a side hustle that makes you 6 figures in 90 days. It is this. Paying attention, removing friction in your savings instead of your spending. Asking whether each dollar leaving your account was truly chosen or just allowed to escape. Plugging the spending leaks one by one until the level in your financial life stops dropping and starts rising. Weeks pass, then a month. You sit down again with your statement and you run the same exercise you did at the beginning, and this time the numbers tell a different story, not a perfect one. You still have moments where you spend without thinking because you're human, and that is part of being human. But the pattern has shifted. The automatic, invisible outflows are smaller, there are fewer of them, the subscriptions are leaner. The food spending is more intentional, the late fees are gone because you set up auto pay for the 2 bills you kept forgetting. The ATM fees have almost disappeared. And sitting there with your tea going cold beside you, you feel something you have not felt about money in a long time. You feel like you're in charge. Not like you have conquered finance forever or figured out some secret the world was hiding from you, just like you are finally the one making the decisions. Like your money is going where you actually want it to go instead of where inertia and habit and 1,000 small frictionless transactions decided to send it without asking. That feeling is everything. That feeling is worth more than any individual purchase you have ever made without thinking about it. And the most remarkable part is that it did not require a raise. It did not require a sacrifice that made your life feel smaller or harder or less joyful. It only required one thing: the decision to finally look. If this story felt true, if you recognized yourself somewhere in the coffee line or the grocery store or the Sunday evening bank statement, then you already know what to do next. Keep going. Keep looking. The answers are already in your own numbers. You just have to be willing to read them. And if you want to keep building this kind of clarity, one video at a time, subscribe to Dollar First. There is more where this came from, and every conversation we have is one step further from financial fog and one step closer to knowing exactly where you stand.